Alan also had a fantastic career. He was an accomplished journalist, historian. We've all heard about his ability with history. And he worked for the CBC for a long time. And he was a very talented researcher and right-hand man to a lot of the names that everybody would recognize at the CBC. So I'm happy now to introduce from the CBC. We'll talk a little bit about Alan, Bill Amos. Bill?
Well, believe it or not, Alan is kind of a legend at the CBC. I first met him in 1982, 40 years ago, when we were reporters together on a program called News Watch in Montreal, produced by what we belovedly call Mother. And when I first met Alan, I thought, like he was kind of deceptive when he first met him. I thought, well, this guy, he doesn't say much. And shy? He's going to be, I know he's a researcher now, but like the next step is reporter. I don't know if I can see him like on Canada, out there, sort of like, Ron. Actually, Alan was a tiger. He was a scrapper. And he was like a dog with a bone. He would not give up. He was amazing. He was just amazing. And I have to say that he just like helped energize that place. He really did. He was such an unforgettable guy. Really unforgettable. And he just never gave up. In later years, Alan went to Toronto to become a network producer with the National. Sat at the right hand of Peter Mansbridge. And I know on the night of the last referendum, like most of us were worrying about whether we would still have a country. By about 9 o'clock, Mansbridge was able to say, "Oh, it looks like the tide has turned." And it looks like the yes side may come out in front. Well, in the national newsroom, Mansbridge was kind of on this raised anchor desk. And right down below, just to the right, I believe, was Alan. And Alan was sitting there. And that whole referendum was passing paper to Mansbridge. And he was actually absolutely instrumental in the success of CBC's coverage on that night. It was great to see him come out here to Vancouver. I came out a couple of years before him. And I don't know if you remember, one of the first great stories that he covered here was the APEC conference, in which the famous Mounties sprayed pepper spray on a number of students on the BBC. And by the way, legendary footage there of the police spraying the pepper spray. Alan is standing right about there, just out of range, coughing, no doubt, like hell. But he wasn't afraid to get right in there and to make sure that the truth would come out. If anything, he was a lover of truth. That is what I would say about Alan Denver. That's what makes him, to me, unforgettable, is that nothing would stop him from uncovering the truth. He was an absolute pure journalist in the sense that nothing would stop him from getting the real story. And that doggedness, that determination was what made him, what separated him from a lot of people in the CBC. He was intellectual, he was super intelligent, super knowledgeable, super determined, and he never gave up. I am standing up here and I'm not literally kicking myself, but figuratively I am, because I did not really know how ill he was in the last year. And I hadn't seen Alan for quite a while. We used to go to dinner, a couple of times a year out here, and I've been on the golf course with him, and he was supremely patient with me because I was nowhere near his level. But I will never forget this man. Never. He is a legend. And I just want you to know, not only is he a legend here at Pitt Meadows or with his family, he's actually a legend in the history of Canadian journalism. Thank you.